Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if we dive into our first interview, Katrina Hanse-Himarwa, a former governor of the Hardap Region, Swapo Party member and Minister of Education, passed away at the age of 57 on the morning of Sunday, July 14th. And after battling cancer, numerous condolences were pouring since her passing. And tonight, we are joined via Zoom by Ambassador Margaret Mensah Williams, Ambassador of Namibia to the United States of America and a close friend of the late, who also shared a political vision. A very good evening, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good evening to you, John, and thank you for having me.
A pleasure, Ambassador. Now, can you share with us your thoughts, what went through your mind when you learned of the death of Katrina Hanse-Himarwa?
Well, I was saddened because we were very close. We were like twins. People used to say, if you see the one, you see the other. But she was a strong woman. She was a tenacious person. She was a whole. She was fearless. She was selfless. But overall, she was a prayer warrior. She would, when you are weak, she would be strong for you. She would be your best cheerleader in times of need. But she was the best wife a husband could ask for, a best mother that children could ask for, and a best grandmother that any grandchild could ask for. Katrina will be remembered because she was a friend of the poor. She would pick street children when it's holiday, and she will take them to their farm, and she would go and entertain them for the holiday so that they can enjoy the holiday. As you have heard previously about teachers that was underqualified, she made them to be qualified. She was somebody who believed in others. She believed in her fellow human beings. She was a fighter for the cause of the liberation of the struggle for the independence of our country. She was a fighter for the equality of people. She was a fighter for education. She was a fighter for people to find their right and be themselves. She didn't like hypocrites, and she was somebody with integrity, honest, fearless, and somebody, when she was your friend, she stood by you through thick and thin. Therefore, it's a dark cloud. I was just reflecting on thinking on she started as an educator, as a school principal, as a mayor of a town in Aranos. She went then from local authority to regional council. She actually, with the Swapo Party, won the constituency of Mariental Rural that used to belong to the opposition. And she brought it back. She became a governor, the first female governor. From there, she became a minister. And she was not just a minister, she was the people's minister, the educational minister, who brought change in so many aspects of education. But overall, she was a staunch supporter and somebody who rallied behind credible people in the party. I loved her unconditionally because her love was unconditional. So it is tough. It's not an easy time for me. But if I think of all the good she have done, all the love she have shared, all the battles she fought, when she was battling that cancer, one day I took her with her husband in the car, and I go into the ambulance. When we reached the hospital, I said to her, "Mate, you must be strong." She said to me, "Mate, you must be stronger," because it was the time of our late president, whom we loved so dearly. But overall, I want to give hope to the hopeless. She astonished the doctors because she was such a perfectionist, but also such a warrior. She worried the battle of cancer. In all, she reminds me of Maya Angelou, of her poem that says, "And still I rise." I would love to remember her as a woman who always rose from where she came to where she wanted to be.
Thank you so much for that, Ambassador. Could you possibly also share with us, some of the light moments the two of you shared in both socially and politically?
Yes, we were working on the nerves of the former president. We could joke. She could think on her feet. We could, we were like two people, putting on a glove. If she starts something and she discusses a topic, I just fall in. If I start, she just fall in. And we would giggle and we would make jokes. And she was, she was a funny character. She could mimic people. She could, when I sit very quietly, she would say something that's very funny. I would tell her, look at that. And then one day the president was so agitated, the former president, the late president, by the two of us, because we were giggling about something. And he said, that noise over there in the Central Committee. And we looked at him and we looked at each other and we started laughing. And she asked me, what's wrong with Ome? I said, I don't know, why is he picking on us? But we were the guilty ones. And then one day she was upset about something in the Politburo. She was, raising a point. Now the late president loved us, but he also knew that he had to curb us. He would always she would always say, but when you say, when somebody say the people are put on, you have put on the gauge and you said, let's go and let's do this for Swapo. You never said we must reduce the volume of the radio station. So we are still on that frequency. Right. And she was upset and she went out and I went out. I followed her and the president was looking at us and we were in the bathroom and we were laughing afterwards because we cried. And we were crying because she was reprimanded and I felt it was not that it was not good for her to be reprimanded because she spoke the truth. She was fearless. But the president knew in both of them had the same qualities of being inclusive, of being caring for other people's feelings. And we came back and we sat, and the president looked at us and he said, oh, the Southerners are back. And we made as if we don't see what, he's talking about us. And he said again, oh, I see the Southerners are back, so we can continue. And then we looked at each other and she said, which Southerners? You are saying that we should be inclusive. Which Southerners? And the president started laughing. So that was the type of Katrina I knew. She could sing, she could dance, she was a dresser. She liked beautiful things and she was a no-nonsense person, but she was a loving, kind person. She didn't like, in the political life, you get ups and downs. And that's why when we supported the then vice president, who became eventually the president, Hage Geingob, and people asked, so you are supporting Hage Geingob? And she said, and so what? And so what? And that was Katrina for you.
Finally, in brief, Ambassador, how will you remember Katrina and how should we carry on to continue her legacy?
I would like us to remember her as an educationalist. I would like, because I will remember her for somebody who was always there, who spoke up for the poor, who spoke up for those who were not in a position of power. She was somebody who would like to say Namibia can do better economically, in the educational sphere. Young people, women should be lifted up. And I want to continue a legacy by ensuring that, as the two of us always said, at each house, in each household, where there's a pot outside the house and it's boiling on the fire, then at least there should not only be water in it, there must be at least maize meal where there is porridge for people to eat. She always fed people. She loved people. She cared for them. And overall, she loved Namibia. She was very patriotic. She was very loyal. Yeah. And I would like us to remember her as a caring, loving citizen. And in her legacy, I want us to strive to do better for all children in our country when it comes to education.
Ambassador, we highly appreciate you for making the time to share this beautiful story with us. Thank you so much, and condolences to you, of course, to your family during this difficult time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate, and condolences to all of us.
Indeed.
We have lost a heroine.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Ambassador Margaret Mensah Williams joining us all the way live from Washington, D.C., just sharing her moments, of course, of the late Katrina Hanse-Himarwa. We'll continue with more interviews right after a short break.